I don't know if you can twist that Instagram one down a little bit. I think everything can kind of go down some. Twisted the bottom towards the TV. Just tilted, yeah. So
oh, not that. Oh, and you said
two, yeah. 202, yeah, you got it. Hey, everybody, making some adjustments as usual. That's all right. See how it? I think if the top, we're seeing more top than bottom, but like we're seeing this camera, but I don't know if it matters. Let's see if I can twist it. Do this a little smudge. Sorry, everybody. Bear with me. There we go.
Yeah.
Try to give you the best view, the best angle.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, the top cap.
It's okay.
Tops.
I'll just do a little bit of that. Too much now. Oh goodness.
Woo, woo, woo.
Woohoo!
We have some vertigo warnings today, both at the start and then the end too, with in the middle here. Lots of screechy noises today, loud noises. So get ready for that volume button. You want to basically be able to turn that volume down quickly. So hello. Hope everybody's well. And we have a little kind of unusual. This is why we're having kind of scrambling here, because this one is a little more complicated, and this is one that we don't really do very often because there's so many moving parts. So bear with us. Hopefully, if you can't handle it, come back tomorrow and watch the edited version, and we'll cut out all the kind of moving stuff. You won't get to hear me talking, so you won't get to hear the conversation, but it may be a little more appealing to some of you. So yeah. Where is everybody at today? Send us over. I'd love to hear where you're at, and other people do too. So feel free to send where you're coming from. We'd love that. Don't feel like you're the only one. And does anybody have any questions that you're dying to ask? I'm paying attention to the questions right now. So if you have a question that's really good for the public that's watching, shoot it out there. So yeah. But today I'm going to doing some glazing of these casseroles and some other forms, just to kind of give you my approach to glazing. And I haven't glazed a lot of stuff for a while. And to me, that's kind of I like glazing, but I am not a very complicated glazer. I mainly dip. There's two reasons I dip. One is I'm impatient and have never been that great with brush. So I try to avoid using a brush. Oh, from Sweden. Hello. Thanks for saying hi. From Facebook. And from Utah. Oh, SLC, Salt Lake City. I'm coming there soon, very soon. So hopefully you'll be around. From Canada. Sorry, now I'm distracted. So it's good, but it's good. I think it's really good to know where you guys are from. Virginia, West Virginia. Yeah. So, but I really like glazing, and I was saying I like to dip. Hello, Michigan, California. But and the two reasons are, one is I'm not a very good brush at using a brush. I'm getting better, and so I'm starting to try some more commercial glazes that are brushable glazes. But when I started in pottery in like 2005, before, you know, buying bottled glazes were expensive, and as a production potter, as a business, it was really difficult to have that. But I know there, in my work, it was just simple pottery. It didn't have a lot of design work, and so I didn't need to spend that money for those quality glazes that are made. So I hello Maine. So I figured out a way to. I had a class, went to a glaze class, and was taught how to alter kind of glazes online and how to make them for colors that I was interested in and that fit the clay body that I was using really well. And so, yeah. So then it has magically worked really quickly. And I think that's probably partly how I roll with most things that I do, and probably you as well. Things that really work well, I start to just kind of just dive into that even more. So yeah, so dipping glazes were the thing. So I'm going to show you some dipping glazes today mainly, and then how I approach that. And so the two reasons were my skill level and then also cost. So dipping glazes, if you're making them yourself, can be pretty lot more inexpensive, but then you got to buy all the materials, and then you know it's has its own disadvantages as well. So, and now there's making so many different. I think there's like 10 times the amount of glazes on the market commercially. People have accepted using commercial glazes, and it's there's so many options. So, and I was gonna try some today too, but I have some big pieces here, so I don't really want to make too much. I want to kind of know what I'm dealing with. And this one I made, even put my mom's name on it, you know, right? So, to Mom, with love, Jeff. You know, so I don't want that to, I didn't want to know what this is going to turn out to be. And so, yeah. In fact, yeah, we'll get there. Whether I even glaze that one today is the next question. So, let's get started. And again, I'm going to just pre-warn you, especially if you just started, there's going to be some times where you might just want to turn the volume off. I'm not going to say too much, but because there's kind of 3 steps, maybe 4 steps that I go through when I'm glazing. And I think it's really important. I think for some of you that this is I think a critical thing. I did a lot of classes and knew that glazing night was that was the worst anxiety provoking night for most of the students, right? Most of the people in the class. And so I heard Pete Pinnell say one time, and I think it's really true, and I don't know if he likes to quote a lot of people, so I don't know if it's direct from Pete or Pinnell, or if it was a quote that he found, but he said, basically, you should know what you're going to glaze your piece with before you glaze it. So, before you even make the piece, really. So, and I think that's really critical. So, if you guys don't know glazing, how you want to glaze your pieces, I would, this is the thing that, what I would do is make a bunch of small stuff and make something where you can practice like throwing or practice hand building, but yeah, I gotta switch the camera. It's making me feel crooked. I messed with it earlier.
Yeah, unfortunately, I feel like it might be.
It can be hard to figure out.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's good. Totally good. You're good. I'm just fussing. You know, always trying to make things better.
It looks a lot better on Instagram, so.
Oh yeah, I think that's better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there we go. I would spend some time making, you know, a really fun thing to do is make little cups, or make little prep bowls, or make um, little Wally dishes, or little trays. And I think too, what you can do is, like, if you're going to make these baking dishes, the glaze has a vertical surface that's going to make the glaze kind of, gravity is going to pull it downward. So you have to kind of take that into account. So if you want to glaze things like this, then make little cups. If you want to make dinner plates, for example, make tiny little dipping plates, little kind of just plates, and then test, do crazy tests, and then that way you know, like, what glazes you like for which clay. And that's the other thing, is if you're using different clay bodies, make sure you make your test pieces in all those different clay bodies, and that will really help you to know, like, ooh, like. And sometimes what I figured out was, like, when I made a test glaze, I'm like, ooh, I want to make a butter dish out of this glaze. Ooh, I want to make a pouring pitcher out of this glaze. Like, it really kind of runs down nice. Ooh, I want to make dinnerware out of this combination of glazes. And so I think it's a really good way to help you to eliminate that anxiety, to make the testing kind of fun, because you don't want to test stuff on a big piece you made, especially with the cost of firing nowadays and the cost of glazes and cost of clay. You want to do all that testing on little things, and you might get some differences from when you put it on, apply it to big things, but at least you have a good idea and a good starting point to do that. So yeah, does that make sense? So test, have fun making tests. And I've learned, like, if I'm going to try a new process with clay, like maybe I'm going to try wood firing, maybe I'm going to try alternative firing, the first thing I want to do is to make test pieces that I don't even really care about, that, and then it just kind of eliminates that anxiety and stress, and then it's really fun to see how they're gonna turn out, what's gonna happen to them. So it's like discovery. So a lot of times, like, when I'm able to join a wood kiln or an alternative kiln, I want to make as many, have as many examples of, to get as much information I can from that firing, to see what I like or don't like, what works really well or what doesn't work well. When I was in Korea a year ago, I made, this is another fun thing, is I made 25 cups pretty quickly and without a lot of too much care, but a little care, right? And then I could even let people pick some of those samples, because I wasn't going to be able to keep them all, to take home as a souvenir of that firing. So, you know, so it's a really good way to do it, is test beforehand. And so now I know, like, I'm going to put, it's actually kind of a color similar to this. Yeah, and actually that kind of shows, the camera kind of shows what it looks like. In person, it's a little more semi-matte or matte, but I'm going to do a real glossy one, because it's kind of this baking dish that you know, needs to feel like it's real easy to, and welcoming and fun to clean, right? It's nice and shiny, so when you clean it, it's going to look clean. And so that's what I want to do with baking dishes. You know, you might be able to get away with having a real shiny glaze on the inside part and then a matte glaze on the outside, if you really like that matte look. I know a lot of people even like just the clay look as well. I'm kind of a messy potter, like I can see already on this piece here too, where I would either have to do a lot of cleanup work still, or I want a glaze that's going to cover all that up. So I think Link from Kentucky Mudworks, who's big into making clay and really is concerned about how that clay looks. She loves to talk about how us American potters love to just cover up the clay, where she wants to make a clay that where you can enjoy that clay as much as you can the glaze. So yeah, so everybody, we all have our own preferences, right? And so and if you want color, then you got to use the underglazes or the commercial glazes. if you just want fast dipping, what I'm going to do in kind of these traditional pottery glazes, the more drippy and the more kind of runny and all that kind of stuff is kind of beneficial. But yeah, so sorry, that was a long post little. I got some as I drink it. Some nitro cold brew, so I'm extra chatty. Sorry about that. But, well, hello from in Denmark and in Arizona and in New Mexico. Thank you for coming. So, yes, I have been in all of those places. Yes. Everybody that's here, I've been to your place so far that's listened. All right, next thing, first step is we're out of these right now. This reminded me I need to get more of these in, and Kemper's been under a little bit of a hiatus for a little bit, so I'm not sure exactly where they're at, but I get these from Kemper, and what these are is a little grinding stone, and as you can see, I broke it in half purposefully, so if you have two people. Like if I have people over here doing it at the same time, then you got double, right? You know how me, I like to break things in half. But also I think the smaller one is a little easier to work with. I have a full one here too, but yeah, it's a full one. But so what I do is I kind of feel around and I take this. Here's where you want to turn your volume down, maybe if you're noise susceptible. Got to get some earplugs for Delaney. My hearing is horrible, so it doesn't bother me. And I just know when it's gonna, when it's gonna be loud and noisy, that I just prepare for that. So what I do is, and this is something where it's removing large particles, so I don't have to be super careful with a mask or who I'm working with, but I would want to be just be aware and cautious of that. If I create a lot of dust, then definitely a mask is important. And it works really good to just kind of soften up some of those edges that maybe got a little rougher than you anticipated once it's been hardened in the kiln and the firing. I should have had all intentions, but we're so busy around here, to clean up most of these before I had to do it on air. But so I might just show you one of them and just go through the whole process with the one.
Someone missed the part when you were explaining what you were using and asked what it was.
Oh yeah, this is a hello New Zealand. I haven't been there yet. I hope so soon. This is Lisa. This is a grinding stone from. It's called SMS, which is stands for something stilt mark. Let's see, what is it? Something about, you know how like in low fire you use stilts and then it creates a little kind of sharp spots. This is like a stilt mark remover. I don't know exactly what the acronym means, but basically it's a little grinding stone. What also works really well is just a chunk of really rough clay that's been fired to cone 6 or high temperature. That works really well as well. So, but this grinding stone is pretty nice for that. Oh, here's the salt. And if you get really good at with making stuff, what you really ideally is you don't want to have to do this. So if you have a lot of cleanup to do, you didn't spend enough time cleaning it up, and clearly on this one I didn't spend enough time. So yeah. So next, then what I would do is come through and here's where you want to be careful. Who's right next to you? It's pretty hard to find heavy particles, so they're gonna fall to the floor. So 2 or 3 feet away from you. You don't want to be brushing it on your neighbor, but other than that, it's pretty good. So I'm gonna try to brush away all the sawdust or the dust, all the clay dust. Maybe maybe you have this from my buddy Sharon. Gave me this nice shaving cream brush. Works really good getting those corners. Your dad used, yeah, that exactly. It's just a nice tool to kind of smooth off the rough edges, right? So, all right. So now I am going to put on some glaze, and I like to use 2 different glazes or wax. If I can avoid using wax, I will. Sometimes it just helps in the process. But if I had a small foot, had a foot on my pieces, then I don't wax the foot, because I can just take my wet sponge when the glaze is on there and wipe off the glaze. But here, there's a lot of glaze to wipe off, and also kind of waste your glaze because you're just putting it into your wash water, as opposed to if it's wax, it's going to resist that. So I have 2 different waxes here. I have this Wax On Resist made by the ceramic shop. This is a really nice one. It's got color in it. This one's really good for if you want to use wax as decorating your glaze, like making a design, because the color kind of helps you to see where that's at. And then this is a standard kind of industry wax. This one I got from Standard, from their ceramic supply Chicago store. And so let's just use this. You have to be really careful when you're using wax, because if it gets on the piece where you don't want it, you might have to just fire the piece to burn the wax off. So I'm going to just kind of put some in the middle here to get my kind of brush kind of softened up a bit. And why are we using wax again? The reason is that this helps the glaze not to go into the part that's going to touch the kiln shelves, and so we have to remove that glaze, otherwise it's going to ruin our shelf and the piece probably. So we add this wax so that the glaze doesn't stick. It's easier to clean the wax, any unwanted glaze off. All right, so here's my pro tip. Here is what I do: is start on the edge here. I like a stiff brush, so I kind of have control, and I can then just drag it across, and that creates a nice kind of even line. And it's really critical on where your brush's handle is pointed to. Really, that will help you. Because if I was trying to move it around and trying to get that, it won't be very straight. It'll be a lot more crooked. So this is a nice way to create a nice straight line with your wax. We want to go down, some glazes that run a lot. We want to kind of wax down the side of the pot here, a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch, to kind of give us room for that for that glaze to settle or kind of run. So now I'm going to move my brush so it's goes along that outside. And I've gotten way better at using a brush just by practicing with putting wax on. Ooh, did I miss the...
Oh, no, you're good.
Okay, good. I was wondering if I didn't look to see if my...
It was in there.
Okay, good. Awesome. So now we have this waxed. Let's do one more here since we got it out and ready.
Also, just a fun side note, our in-person shoppers from earlier are watching.
All right, hello. Thanks for coming by.
Yeah, on Instagram.
On Instagram, all right. Yeah, that's the fun thing. If you're local here, you're welcome to come by. And thank you to them too. They gave us a call, a warning that they were coming. So we had them come a little earlier because Jenny was here to help them. She's the best at helping people when they're here, so it's nice when she's here. I guess I'll just clean up the bottom here. So again, I don't know if you want to do this top down for this one. There's like little chunks here. So it just kind of grinds that smooth. It's like a stiff piece of sandpaper, right? There we go. And I'm just going to wax this one too. So I kind of just start by, and with wax you really only need one coat on there. I mean, it depends on your kind of how thick your glaze is, or your wax. I keep saying glaze. Glaze is on my mind, huh? But there's a little chunk. So I like to spread it on there first, and then take where the glaze is have a little more control, then do the edge. Yeah, and we would love to have people come, but just give you a pre-warning. We're just a warehouse with an office in the front. Nothing. You get some. You can shop from our second shelf. There's always something on there, but we don't always add. So I guess it depends on how many shoppers come by too. We don't always do a second sale until we have a good enough amount of stuff to make it worth people's anxiety shopping. You see how I am. I want to eliminate anxiety, not create it. So there's lots of things to be anxious about. I'm kind of anxious today myself, yesterday and today. As I get older, I feel it a lot more. I'm surprised, and sometimes, it's not my character, I guess, to be conscious of it. But now I feel like when I start to feel off and weird, I'm like, why am I feeling off and weird? And then I'm like, oh yeah, Black Friday is coming up. The end of the year is coming up. Yeah, so that's going on. Yeah, so now we have this bottom waxed here. Maybe we'll try both of those. All right, I think we are in a good spot here. I'm just gonna put this wax in the. This is a water-based wax. They used to have other types of wax that you could use, like oil or turpentine, I think, even. But you know, with all the kind of regulations now, they kind of eliminate some of those things. So it's really easy to add. Sometimes I add a little. If it feels too thick, I add a little water. But make sure you kind of test on a small batch. Uh-oh. Might have to find the charging cord for the phone. Is that 10%? All right. So let's switch over here in a second here. Let's see. Yeah, I think there's a charging cord right in my.
Yeah, I've got a long one. I can grab that. We could probably.
Okay. Yeah.
use it there.
Perfect. Yeah, it's the
Be right back.
It's the lightning
Yep.
version. Yeah. So. All right. So let's move over here. Hello, up close and personal here. Sorry, I might adjust it even more when Delaney comes back here. Guess what we're using as a prop? Geopottery forms, of course, right? There we go. All right, I think this is good. So, I'm just gonna sit down here. I am a big believer in these bins. You can go to Home Depot and they have these black ones that are used to mix up cement, and the bad thing is about them is they're not very they're not that rigid. They're pretty kind of flimsy, so it might be a little more difficult to use. But yeah, this is a great tool. So if you are making anything over 10 inches that won't fit inside the bucket, then it's really nice to have this accessible kind of glazed bath. And so yeah, so it's yep. Put this one down just a little bit. I think Instagram is looking pretty good. Probably won't see me too much, but that's good. So I just take let's do this.
So I do not have mine. Where did you say yours was?
It should be on my desk. Hopefully, maybe.
Well, look.
Yeah, good luck with that. Mine might not be here as well. We'll make two if not. All right, so I keep about 1 bucket of glaze is about 20 pounds of dry material, and actually let's do that in a minute. Well, no, let's not. Okay. I'm going to show you maybe at the end. I have some dry dipping glaze from Amico, and I want to mix that up and try that out. So actually maybe we'll use it on that one piece. So yeah, maybe we have time to do it. So what I was saying is a good 20-pound batch is a full bucket. So half a bucket would be 10 pounds. Forget how that relates in kilos, but you get the idea. So I have all these kind of pre-mixed glazes that I kind of developed recipes for, and this is that one that I showed you on the little cup, and it's been used for a little bit. I like it to be kind of thick. One thing I also have is just a bucket of water to clean my clean my mixing. So here's where you might want to turn the volume down if you want. It's not super loud, but basically what I'm trying to do is get those clay particles so they're really moving and flying around. You know, with this type of dipping thing, the glaze particles are being suspended in the water. So they're like floating in the water. So you want it to mix really often and quite a bit, because every so often they're going to settle down. No luck?
Matt saved the day.
Matt saved the day, of course Matt did.
There we go. Perfect.
All right. Yay, yay, yay. I figured out it works really well. I think you can tell, like, when the glaze is really mixed well, it creates this nice, like, vortex. I think is what it's called, right? Like a tornado, like the eye of the tornado. So you can really see that everything is pretty fluid and moving around there pretty good. There we go, and then we can just take this and put it in water, and there we go. So now what I'm going to do is just dump this glaze right into the bucket. Or into the bin. As you can see, or maybe you can't, but this glaze is 3G. And sometimes you got to be a little careful with this. You can use these nice little ledges on the side of the glaze to kind of make it a little deeper part of the area to dip in. What's really nice about this, though, is that we can go completely in, and we have this kind of area to move. Oh, good, thankfully, right here. And I'm going to use some glaze tongs here, so that I don't have that the glaze is pretty even throughout the whole piece. So see, I'm gonna let it sit in here for a 1, 2, 3 count. And I'm going to just let it all dump out. And you can see if it's been fired pretty well. All that glaze is resisting where we put wax. And sometimes if it doesn't resist very quickly, you might need that wax to dry a little bit more. So yeah, I'm going to give this a little bit of time to kind of set up, and then dip it again. And I think on this next coat, though, I'm going to just do half and half, so it has like a kind of thick and thin. So if you don't want to, the other thing you can do is make a straighter line by how you hold it in there. So now I can do that. And you want a nice kind of layer of glaze on there, whether you're brushing it on or dipping it. Some people even get really serious about specific gravity. There's some ways you can measure the volume for each glaze. Yeah. Hi, Lynn. I won't tell. I promise. I bet you Lynn's got some pretty sweet methods of glazing. Lynn is at Cornell Studio Supply, and she is master. If you have a chance in that area to take a class from Lynn, you should do it. So there we go. Because I know this glaze works better when it's really thick, so I might even add this another layer here. Down the way. And just carefully, again, we want to keep stirring this glaze, because thinking about those particles, the goodness in there, it's like if you like sugar in your coffee, you know how it kind of settled down to the bottom? You want it to be all throughout. You want all that goodness to be all the way around. So it's drying pretty quickly, so that indicates to me it's pretty thin too. So nice and acceptable for glazes. So I'm gonna dip it again. 1, 2, 3. If it starts to get too doesn't dry very quickly, then you might need to just add the tongs. I'm just going to do this for speed's sake instead of waiting for it to dry. The tongs really are just used to, because it's got these little points on there, so it doesn't touch the clay that much. All right. Same with the glaze tongs, we can just wipe them in that dirty water and they're clean. I love that. And I can pick up on the wax part here. Move it out of the way. And now, and this is where, if you're using this method of dipping, and you don't have that much glaze, you could lift this up a little bit by hand to make it feel like there's more. But if you're, it's really helpful if you have a buddy to be able to dump this back into the bucket. Or you just take a small bucket and start to dip it out into the bucket, right? So. So now we can keep it stored in there. Ooh, you can feel some of that sugar. Oh, it's not sugar. That goodness stuck on there. So that's why it's so important to, where you get a lot of that action and all of that good color is from some of that those harder materials. So you definitely don't want it to be thinned out or yeah, you know what I mean. All right. Any questions about dipping?
I don't know if you answered this one yet, but someone did ask what brand wax you used.
Yeah, I like to use, ooh, yeah, I'll show you here. There's really 3, and I don't have the third one, I don't think, here. Aftosa is the one that, if you're on the West Coast, Aftosa, the Clay Planet now makes it. And theirs is kind of a green color. And then here is the ceramic shop's Mark's Wax On. It's another really good one. Mark is the owner of Ceramic Shop, but also a working artist back in the day. And so, he's pretty particular what he likes to use. So that one's Mark's. And then this one is kind of a standard, no color. I purchased this at Ceramic Supply. So if you're on the East Coast, these two are really good options. Yeah, I think pretty much nowadays they're pretty much all really close in recipe. They might be slightly different in thickness and concentration, so you may have to pick your favorite. But yeah, anybody else out there have a favorite? Definitely let other people know. What did I love your make of?
Your chair choice, I think, is what.
Oh, my
she's
chair,
talking
my
about.
make do, yeah. Yes, we can never beat a bucket, right? For fishing or whatever. I was using it for painting the top of the walls the other day too. So I love to just try to find what works, right, as opposed to like have the tool for everything. But yeah. All right. Well, maybe I'll quickly do this. Actually, talked about. Have to give up my chair though. Now you can even buy these dipping glazes from Amico, and I'm sure the other companies as well. I think for a little while here we have all these regulations of this dry material, and it comes with some nice instructions in there of how to deal with it. But yeah, so now I think based on how things are becoming more expensive, people are willing to deal with those kind of regulations. So here's where it's probably best to have a mask on. True safety, but I'm one of those farm kids. I like to be around dangerous things, and my time is my time. So I know, give me the lecture, it's all fine, I'm not going to listen. Because really it's the same thing as dirt being blown around at the beach, right? So it's hazardous to go into the beach, in my mind. So you can see it's 10 pounds of glaze. So I have about a bucket of glaze, about a half bucket worth of glaze here. So I'm just going to add this, and I actually chose warm water. If I can, this speeds up the process a little bit, right? And you can see it kind of bubbling, kind of getting used to itself. And this purple color is that cobalt. So I imagine this is a little pricey glaze because it's got that cobalt in it. And then you can see now it kind of went down as it kind of absorbed into the material. So I think it was a pretty good indication of how much water to dry material is good. So now, I've learned, like, I definitely, if I have time, to not push it. But if I had time, I would let this sit overnight and let all those particles kind of get absorbed by water as much as possible. So I am going to just leave this be, but I want to just kind of show you. Let me give you one other, has this nice door here. I want to show you one other thing. And the one, if you want a recommendation of a good Christmas gift, they're kind of pricey. And if you're doing dipping glazes, you have to have this. And this is a talisman strainer. And I don't know if the New Zealand person is still on, but these are made in New Zealand actually, by Talisman. And so the best place to get them in the U.S. is from Kruger is the main importer of them. Kruger in St. Louis. So definitely give them a call. You can buy them online from them as well. But yeah, so what I'm going to do with this, and again I would let this sit overnight, but I'm just going to show you here, is now I just take this mixed glaze, and it has, this basically has a straining screen in it. So it's going to either break up those particles, spilling. No, not too bad. All right. This is the important part here. A lot of times what I'll do is then strain it right back into the same bucket. And this is really critical for all dipping glazes. And really even if you could do bottled glazes too, it's so helpful. You can see with this talisman it goes so fast. And not that, I mean this glaze is fairly thin and a nice one to kind of mix looks like. But, oh yeah, it's got all this goodness in there still. But this little turn thing on here makes it really nice to be able to get out of there. Again, I think this stuff that's, ooh, I can feel the glazes. It's still pretty warm. So I want all this goodness. Remember how we talked about those heavy particles? I want to make sure I get that as much as possible into the back into my mix. And there we go. So I still, if I was desperate and had a show over the weekend, then I would probably use this batch. But I'm just going to let it wait till tomorrow and then try it. But just so you know, this is you're probably wondering which one is. This was Ultramarine DL23. So this is the glaze that I'm mixing. And yeah, I'll show you the final results when we I'm going to actually finish firing all these pieces this weekend, and then I'll send you a little example of what happened. You want to turn that camera back to the front here?
Yep.
Alright.
Alright, everybody. I have to unplug, but work for one of those.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, Instagram looks good.
Instagram looks good.
Oh, no, it's a little crooked, but I think if you let go of it, it'll.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I guess none. Well, it's on delay, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other direction, towards you, actually.
Is it too?
Yeah, twist the bottom towards you. That's probably good.
There you go. This top.
Up, switch.
Oh, other way.
Yeah, no,
Other
yeah,
way.
there you go. Yeah, perfect.
Because it's all.
Oh, now on the low battery again, so your that top's good.
Okay.
Just hit the on the screen of the, yeah.
Got it.
All right, everybody, we're back. All right, so now here I kind of analyze, and you can see where my tong marks were, so I would just soften those up by, when the glaze is really dry, I can just use my finger and rub back and forth, and this blends it right in. And now is where you got to be really careful with holding it even. So I like to try to hold it on the flat surface, and then I just use my sponge here to kind of clean off that glaze. And just a little on there because we used the wax. You can tell how good of a wax job you did too, because you will see spots, which will end up being fine. Let me grab my water here. My stool. And I like to use these really nice, they are tile sponges. So if you go into the home improvement store, or your local studio supply, or clay supply might have them as well, but otherwise, if you go into a hardware store where they have tile, they have these really nice, I would get the expensive ones if I were you, because they stay stiffer. And then if you just have the stiffer ones, you can just kind of go back and forth, and that helps you have a nice clean line. So even if I may have missed some with the wax, I can run along those edges and create that nice crisp line. So I don't want to squish, I don't want to put a lot of pressure on the sponge. I want to just move the sponge back and forth. There, that creates this nice kind of clean surface. So you can see here and here there wasn't as much wax, but it'll fire this fine. It's all cleaned off. So, and I think this has enough glaze on it. I can see where it's kind of even a little bubbly. Not too much, but plenty. So we will give this a fire and see how it goes. So, let's see, any other questions out there? And as I was saying, I'm going to probably dip this one in the blue glaze eventually here. Tempting! Maybe I'm too tempted. You have to move the camera. I'm coming back, just a minute. And I don't have it in the glaze bath, so I'm just going to hand dip it in the bucket. So you'll get the idea. I'm going to, typically I would do both sides, but just for time purposes, I just dip the one side. And so now what I can do is just use that sponge again. And I didn't have to take the time to use the wax, or I didn't even need the cost of the wax, but then I can just use that sponge again with that nice movement of back and forth. It can just kind of clean that glaze right off. There we go, there we go. All kinds of fun. Well, thank you so much for being here. If you have any final questions, we are going to have a nice Black Friday sale starting on Thursday evening probably, and it's going to go, the same sale is going to go throughout the weekend. So yeah, but I forgot to say last time, and so we're going to offer this time. We are doing, and I got to put it in, I forgot to even put it in. That's how much stuff's going on. We're gonna do 20% off, kind of a pre Black Friday sale. 20% off the casseroles this weekend. So, and they're quite heavy, so it's a nice way to kind of have them before you have the other package, because it's gonna just increase your shipping for the next package. So if you want to get a casserole and make some casseroles, probably too late now for Thanksgiving, but definitely not too late for Christmas. So or for gifts for Christmas. So yeah, get your casseroles. They're 20% off through the weekend. So yeah, I think that's all for me today. So
we did get one more question asking if we ship worldwide.
Andrew, good question. We do ship worldwide, and it's really nice on our e-commerce site. You know, we don't handle any of that kind of quotes or anything. The computer does everything for us, and it's a little bit of a challenge of it's kind of luck of the draw for customs. Unfortunately, we found, but it's theoretically supposed to include most of the duties and tariffs and stuff into the cost of your shipping cost. So it might seem a little high, but that should be including the duty. And so, but there's a chance that it might that your customs department may require more. So just be aware of that. But yeah, so it'll figure out how much shipping is, so you can get a good indication of what that would be. But just also know that it's going to look expensive because it's crossing a border, and they're taking extra money for crossing the border. Yeah, we don't make any money on the shipping charge. We just transfer it right to you. So whatever you arrange with the e-commerce site of shipping, which one you select, it will do that as well. Right now we're about 5 days out on shipping, 5 business days. So we're still working on last week's Friday orders, so we're a little behind on orders, but yeah, so get your orders in earlier if possible. But yeah, so yeah, and so yeah, we sell to Italy. You can there's not any stores in Italy. Probably the closest stores for Italy maybe Switzerland in Zurich. There's Michael Ceramics. They sell the forms, and also a craft and Hans Tripp in Austria. Yeah, so check out your local distributors. A lot of them are carrying them. If not, tell them, why aren't you carrying GR pottery forms? Call Jeff. So yeah. So, well, anyway, hopefully, I know to the world it's not Thanksgiving next week, but happy Thanksgiving to all of you anyway. Hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving with your family, and we'll talk to you soon. We won't be having a demo next week because of the holiday, but hopefully the week after, actually. So it might be a little bit before we see you again. So talk to you soon. Talk to you soon. Have a good day.